With Miraculous Ladybug currently being a complete dumpster fire of a show due to all of the terrible narrative decisions that have been made, the Miraculous movie serves as a breath of fresh air as it gives fans a glimpse into the series we could have gotten. Created by Thomas Struck, Miraculous Ladybug is a French animated series that focuses on the adventures of teenage superheroes Ladybug and Cat Noir as they fight the villainous Hawkmoth who seeks to claim the powers of the Miraculous. Despite the series having many interesting concepts such as the main villain being the father of one of the two heroes, magical MacGuffins that have existed since the dawn of time, and the parallels between the two leads, every single concept was either executed terribly or was never even attempted. I have never seen a show with so much potential completely squandered the way this series does, since it went from an okay series to one of the worst shows ever. The series' many problems can be traced back to its creator, whose immature responses to valid criticisms reflect the quality of the series. Yet the Miraculous movie serves as a reimagining of the show in which every change made for the movie results in it being superior than the show. This is in large part due to the creator not being involved at all in the film. Instead, the film was written and directed by Jeremy Zag, who utilized the premise of the series far better than Struck ever did. The film condenses the core premise of the show into a superhero origin story for Marinette and Adrien, along with the romance that blooms between them. Though while the film is leagues better than the show, it isn't perfect. After all, it's condensing a lot of story material into an hour 42-minute long movie, so things are going to feel rushed. And throughout the film, some scenes will just abruptly end before cutting to the next scene. But even though the movie does suffer from these problems, it still fills me with joy to see a version of Miraculous Ladybug that better utilizes its concepts. One of these concepts is how Miraculous Ladybug is supposed to be a magical girl superhero genre. Despite all the magical MacGuffins and the powers that they grant, the series never felt all that magical to me. The show presents the Miraculous in a very mundane way, with even the way Adrien and Marinette got their Miraculous being lackluster. But not only are they showcased more spectacularly in the film, they even have it in which the Miraculous themselves choose Marinette and Adrien. This works much better than having Master Fu orchestrate a flimsy test of character, along with hammering in the mysticism of the Miraculous. And while the series may center around superheroes, it never felt like a superhero series. Superhero stories are meant to be inspiring and illustrate what it means to be a hero. Being compassionate, standing up for others, and doing the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. Yet the show would fail to put into effect all those lessons that they tried to preach, since the characters would barely change. The movie also feels much grander than the show. Part of this has to do with the animation, which is gorgeous. While the show may take place in Paris, it has never come close to emulating the beauty of the city like the way this film depicts it. But another part of the grandeur has to do with the tone of the film. While it still has its comedic and fantastical moments, it feels more grounded and mature, with even some of the action sequences being surprisingly intense. This stems from how the characters are portrayed in the movie. I found Marinette and Adrien to be far more compelling characters in this movie compared to the show. While Marinette is still the same kind-hearted and quick-witted girl from the series, the film gets rid of her worst characteristics such as her stalkerish behavior towards Adrien. Instead of Marinette's character completely revolving around Adrien, the movie takes the time to delve into her insecurities and social anxieties that stems from being accident-prone, which further makes her believe that she isn't fit to be a superhero. But throughout the movie, we see her gain confidence in her abilities as Ladybug, which in turn gives her confidence in her everyday life as Marinette. As for Adrien, no longer is he this sheltered teen who spent his entire life inside his house with no knowledge of social cues or how to interact with people. Instead, he's now a withdrawn and shy character who doesn't allow himself to get emotionally close to people due to losing his mother. Becoming Cat Noir gives him a level of excitement and freedom that relieves him of that burden. His encounter with Ladybug also made him experience a sense of love that he thought he had all but lost. And just like how the movie got rid of Marionette's worst traits, movie Adrien doesn't constantly harass Ladybug for the two of them to go out, with him refusing to take no as an answer. That alone instantly improves the Lady Noir dynamic, with it making the idea that Marionette would fall for Cat Noir far more believable. Sure, she finds him annoying at first due to his bravado, but once he becomes humble and treats her with respect, it leads to the two forming a genuine friendship. So unlike with the show, in which after a certain point, I didn't want to see the two get together given both of their problematic personalities, I found myself wanting to see their movie counterparts get together. Granted, the movie romance still has its problem, in which the full development of their relationship, both as themselves and alter egos, is mostly relegated to a montage, but their chemistry is just good enough that I'm willing to overlook it. And honestly, I'd take this over love squares and hexagons any day. But while Adrien is written much better in this film, he still faces the same problems as his show counterpart. Whereas plenty of time is dedicated to exploring Marionette's dynamic with Tiki, her feelings on being a superhero, and her personal life, we only get crumbs of that with Adrien. The movie doesn't even bother to show Adrien and Plag's first interaction with each other, which is a shame since their friendship is one of the things I like about Miraculous. Instead of giving us those scenes, the movie decides to give us a bunch of unnecessary songs, which, yeah, this movie is a musical for some reason. I have no idea why this choice was made, since it was just so pointless. Most of the songs are forgettable, with Courage in Me being the only one to stick with me. But even that's distracting since they got someone else to sing Marionette's song despite her voice actress, Christina V, being a very talented singer. Though among all the things that this movie fixes from the series, the biggest one is how it handled Gabriel Agreste. The way the show handled him is arguably its biggest blunder, which is saying a lot. He's meant to be this tragic, sympathetic villain in which, despite his neglect of Adrien, he became Hawkmoth to gain the power to resurrect his wife so that he can make his family whole again. This storyline had a lot of potential, only for it to be butchered in every conceivable way. While he would be cold and strict towards Adrien, the first two seasons would at least give us moments that showcase that Gabriel genuinely loves his son and would never want to hurt him. Yet season 3 and onward drew all of that character nuance out the window. Not only would he become more controlling and harsh towards his son, but in What If episodes that had Gabriel discover that Adrien is Cat Noir, he would either attack him or akumatize him. All of this destroyed what little sympathy Gabriel had, but the series still tried framing him as a character we should feel sorry for. But the movie would make several changes to his character that made him work much better. For one, movie Gabriel isn't the same control freak as his show counterpart. While it's never stated in a film, it seems like this version of Adrien didn't spend most of his life cooped up in his home, with him being allowed to attend public school. He also doesn't seem to force Adrien to be a model or do a bunch of extracurricular activities, which allow him to live more of a normal life when he isn't being Cat Noir. And while he's still neglectful towards Adrien, even that's handled better, since the movie delves into how Gabriel's neglect towards his son results in Adrien being bitter towards him, with Gabriel now feeling like he's losing his son. I'm about to delve into movie spoilers, since this whole storyline culminates into a big moment that I wish we got in the show, so skip to this time if you don't want to be spoiled. When Gabriel discovers that his son is Cat Noir and realizes that he's been attacking him, he begins to sob over the horror that he's committed. This entire sequence made me emotional, not just because it was an emotional moment, but also because it was a moment that I expected to see in a series, only for that to no longer be a possibility because of the season 5 finale. This whole sequence feels like a middle finger to that finale, in which not only does Gabriel and Adrien learn of the other secret, but Gabriel apologizes to Adrien for everything he's done, with the two then having a heartfelt hug. And while he still gets arrested, this is much more narratively satisfying than him just dying and being remembered as a hero to all of Paris for some bizarre reason after he managed to make his wish. Now, I could complain about how there should have been more emotional build-up to this moment, along with a deeper exploration of their relationship, but after seeing the show butcher this storyline, I'm just happy to have this. Along with the movie making Gabriel a better written character, he's also a better villain. The dude has never been intimidating in the show, with it being even harder to take him seriously when he became Shadowmoth and later Monarch. But in this film, not only does he carry more of a presence, but he comes off as a lot more dangerous and unhinged. As a result, it makes his confrontation with Ladybug and Cat Noir more intense than it has ever been in a show. Now, while these things aren't as important in the grand scheme of the movie, there are a lot of little aspects and changes in this film that I appreciate, such as better showcasing how, when, and why Gabriel became Hawkmoth instead of it being explained in a video game, showing Gabriel be a fashion designer, having criminals be akumatized instead of just ordinary citizens. I'm honestly surprised that the show never once did that. Fleshing out Emily's character, her relationship with her family, and actually exploring how her death has affected Gabriel and Adrian in different ways. And finally, Chloe's antagonism being toned down. While she still serves as an antagonist towards Marinette, it feels far more tame compared to their dynamic in the show. She also isn't as much of a spoiled brat who can get away with anything just because her dad is a male. The most tragic thing about this movie is that, ironically, it would have been better as a show. Had this movie been a prequel meant to build up excitement for the series, with said series making the same creative choices as the film, we could have gotten a much better series than the one we actually got. But while the movie is far from perfect, I'm grateful that this movie exists, since it showcases all the potential that the series always had. As a standalone movie, it's fun but heavily flawed. But as a reimagining of the show, it might as well be a masterpiece. The film has a post-credit scene that sets up a sequel, which I'm not sure how that's going to be handled, but I am intrigued. But what are your thoughts on the Miraculous movie? Do you find it better than the show, or are you more of a fan of the show? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and click the bell so you'll be notified when I make a new video. If you want to follow me on social media, you can find the links to them in the description box below. Until next time, I'm out the heel.